Why does vitamin D even exist? This is a question very few have asked. By asking this simple question, we can determine how much vitamin D is best, which can then improve the lives of everyone. The first thing is to realize that vitamin D is not a vitamin, and the function of vitamin D is different from actual vitamins. So what are vitamins? Most everything is done in our bodies with proteins. The information in DNA is the code for building proteins. One gene equals one protein is a useful approximation. Some proteins are enzymes which facilitate chemical reactions. Vitamins work with proteins to be more efficient. If there were no vitamins, then we would have evolved proteins that would work without vitamins. Because vitamins are in the environment, we evolved better enzymes by using the vitamins. For example, there's a protein that removes calcium from soft tissue. There's another that puts calcium into your bones. These enzymes need to be chemically attached to vitamin K2 to function. When we don't have enough K2, we get calcified arteries and weak bones. Vitamin D is a hormone. Hormones exist to cause the body to behave differently depending on circumstances. You may be familiar with adrenaline. With more adrenaline, you can lift heavier objects. Why not always be able to lift heavier objects? If that was the case, then there would be no need for adrenaline. No need to be able to switch between being able to lift heavier objects and not being able to lift them. If you ask the question, why does adrenaline exist? You might answer, so the body can lift heavier objects in an emergency, but not waste energy for all other times. Let's figure out the purpose of vitamin D. Going back 10,000 years, our ancestors had vitamin D blood levels around 60 nanogram per milliliter in the summer, and it would drop to 30 or less in the winter. So the purpose of vitamin D probably has something to do with signaling the body to behave differently in the winter when you're not near the equator. If you DuckDuckGo vitamin D disease, you see that having low vitamin D means more disease. Why would our ancestors have evolved to have more disease in the winter? There's less food in the winter. You eat less and live off of body fat. If you run out of body fat, you might not make it through the winter. If you get cancer, you're better off not wasting energy fighting it in the winter when you can simply wait until summer and then kill off the cancer. A lifeguard in Miami in the summer has a blood level around 60 nanograms per milliliter or 150 nanomoles per liter. In the US, the nanogram per milliliter units are used, but it seems everyone else uses nanomole per liter. They differ by a factor of 2.5. Many people now have blood levels of vitamin D below 20, and few have values over 30. We've had rickets since before the Spanish flu. The way vitamin D signals the body to slow down the immune system is by switching thousands of genes from on to off or off to on. A gene being on means that the protein it codes for is being made. A study which was published in 2019 gave vitamin D supplements to 30 healthy adults. There is a link in this video's description. They were given 600, 4,000, and 10,000 IU of D3 per day for 6 months. At the start, their blood levels of vitamin D were measured, along with the gene activation in their white blood cells. Their initial blood levels were around 20 nanogram per milliliter. After 6 months, the lowest dose group had an average blood level of 24 and had 162 genes change state. The medium dose group obtained an average blood level of 41 and had 309 genes change state. The highest dose group went up to an average of 79 with 1,289 genes switching state. So clearly the optimal level is over 41. I would bet it is probably around 60, which is what our ancestors had in the summer. Okay, so now you're wondering how to get enough vitamin D to keep from slowing down your immune system for the winter. We have food year-round, just like our ancestors who live near the equator, so we should have blood levels of vitamin D like our ancestors did year-round. It turns out that there is no one-size-fits-all concerning D3 supplements, and it is blood level that matters. A good example is a study that was done where pregnant women were given 6,400 IU of D3 per day throughout their pregnancy. Link in the description. There is a fairly large racial disparity between whites and people with darker skin concerning complications of pregnancy, like premature birth, gestational diabetes, and so on. This disparity still existed when looking at vitamin D intake, but when looking at the blood level achieved, the disparity vanished. This chart shows blood level versus vitamin D intake for over 7,000 people. The dots are all over the place. For example, among those taking 4,000 IU per day, one person had a blood level of 150, while another ended up with just 10. What many people advise is to take 5,000 to 10,000 IU per day for several months and then get tested. There are links in the video description on how to get tested. So the original question of why does vitamin D even exist makes more sense now. If it was optimal to have a strong immune system all the time, then there would be no vitamin D. All the genes controlling the immune system would never change state, and vitamin D would be unnecessary. It is not a vitamin, but a hormone that signals your body to slow down the immune system to survive winter. Because humans have moved out of the sun, we have perpetually slowed down immune systems. This is one of those things we just didn't know, like how radioactive materials are dangerous, along with lead in our gasoline or cookware. We once had x-ray machines in shoe stores to show people how the shoe fits. We didn't know about asbestos. The list goes on. Now we know we need our blood levels of vitamin D to stay around 60 nanogram per milliliter to keep vitamin D from slowing down our immune system. Humans in the future will think back at this time with amusement because of how long it took to figure this out. Some doctors are still leery about recommending vitamin D. Some studies have shown that giving calcium and vitamin D cause people to get calcium in their arteries. In the book, Vitamin K2 and the Calcium Paradox, we learn what happened. Many people are deficient in vitamin K2. This vitamin is made by farm animals that eat green grass. Now farm animals eat corn, and people are advised to avoid dairy. Supplementing with vitamin D will unmask a vitamin K2 deficiency, so it is probably advisable to take supplemental K2. I also add vitamin A and magnesium. As I make this video, we are experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 may well be a vitamin D deficiency disease. We need everyone to maximize their immune system so we can end this disease. One way to do that is to share this video.